Welcome to The Explainer. So, today we're going to dig into the idea of purpose, but not as some vague philosophical concept, but as a real force with scientifically backed power over our well being and, believe it or not, even how long we live. All right, so to kick things off, let's start with a question that pretty much everyone has asked themselves at some point. This big question about meaning, it isn't just for philosophers or late night chats. It's something deeply, deeply human. Early psychologists like Viktor Frankl noticed that we're all naturally driven to find a purpose. And when we don't have one, that's when feelings of emptiness and boredom can really start to creep in. And you see this hunt for meaning just everywhere in our lives today. Just take a look at this post from Reddit. You've got people openly debating different ideas and looking for guidance, all trying to nail down what gives life direction. It just goes to show how much we all crave that why. So while everyone's debating how to find purpose, science has this surprisingly direct answer for why it matters so much. And trust me, it goes way beyond just feeling good. Yeah, the benefits, they're not just in your head. We're talking about a real physical link between having a strong sense of direction and your actual biological health. In fact, there's a ton of research popping up now that draws this incredibly clear line, a line connecting your sense of purpose directly to your lifespan. Yeah, to how long you might actually live. And this number right here, this is where things get really, really interesting. A huge study found that the more purpose people felt they had, the lower their risk of dying was. To be specific, for every major jump in someone's sense of purpose, there was a 15% lower risk of death over the 14 years they ran the study. That's an absolutely incredible protective effect. And listen, this wasn't some fluke. As you can see here, this comes from a super rigorous study, a massive one actually, that followed thousands of people for 14 years. And what the researchers found was that this link, this connection between purpose and living longer, it held true even when they controlled for other things like being happy or having good friends. It just goes to show you that purpose gives you this unique boost, no matter your age or what stage of life you're in. Okay, so if purpose is that powerful, we really need to nail down what it is, right? What are we actually talking about when we say purpose? Well, researchers have kind of boiled it down to these three core ingredients. First, you need a long-term goal, something that guides your daily actions. Second, it has to be personally meaningful to you. The motivation has to come from inside, not from someone else telling you what to do. And third, and this is a big one, it has a beyond the self component. It's about wanting to contribute to the world in some way. All right, but here's where it gets kind of fascinating, a real twist in the story. Having a strong sense of purpose doesn't always mean you're going to be happy every single day. Just think about it for a second. Raising kids, or maybe taking care of an elderly parent. These are probably some of the most purposeful things a person can do. But wow, are they also stressful and exhausting? They can definitely lead to lower day-to-day happiness. And that really shows the difference, right? Purpose is about that deep overall sense of meaning, while happiness, well, that's often tied to things that feel good in the moment. So remember that beyond the self part we just talked about? Well, you can find it in some really interesting psychological places. One of them is our natural tendency to connect with the non-human world through something called anthropomorphism. Yeah, our ability to see and feel a real connection to nature or to animals or even to the cosmos, that can be a huge source of that beyond the self purpose. It's what fuels these massive commitments to causes like conservation or animal welfare. Those are perfect examples of goals that are deeply personal but are also all about making the world a better place. So, even though it's complex and it's not always a walk in the park, the benefits of having a purpose are just huge. They create this positive ripple effect that touches pretty much every part of our lives. So let's start with the mind. Psychologically, having a clear purpose is like having a shield. People with purpose report being more hopeful, more optimistic, and just more satisfied with their lives overall. They also build up that resilience, that grit to bounce back from tough times, and they experience way less depression, anxiety, and even just plain old boredom. And the payoff isn't just in your head. It's incredibly tangible. Physically, having a purpose is linked to better health. We're talking lower stress hormones, better cholesterol, and even a lower risk of things like Alzheimer's. And that drive spills over into success too. You see it in the classroom where students with a sense of purpose get better grades and are way more likely to stick it out and finish college. There's this really powerful quote from the educator Benjamin Mays that just nails the essence of why this all matters so much. He said, "The real tragedy isn't failing to reach your goal, It's having no goal to reach in the first place. So, this whole explainer really leaves us with a personal question, one that only you can answer. It's not just about living longer, it's about living with a sense of direction. So, I guess the question is, what gives your life meaning? What star are you reaching for?